Hi, and welcome to Diversity in the Community. I have a special friend with me tonight who has been with me before, and I'm just so proud of her because since the last time she's been on this program, um, she's had a lot of wonderful things happen. So it's just so wonderful to have her here tonight. I want her to introduce herself and just tell you right now what she does, what her passion is, and how she comes up with. Well, I'm gonna tell you a little bit. She does plays. She's a producer and a director, but I want her to tell you how she comes up with the plays and how passionate she is about it. So this is my buddy Valerie. So I want her to introduce herself and talk about what she does.
Well, Teresa, thank you for having me on the show one more time. It's
Yeah.
always a pleasure to be
Yes,
here.
yes, it is.
I think this is my third time
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
just coming out and really talking about what I do.
Right.
And I'm the director and founder, CEO of Ruby's Realm Productions. It's a theatrical production that really talks about things that are going on in our community that need to be showcased.
Right.
It's been in existence since 2004. So
Oh, I didn't realize that. So that's how many years? 2004.
Four, we're going on
Is that 14, 16,
14.
18? Yeah, okay.
Yes, we've been up
A lot of years.
We've been going on. And it really, I have some cast members that have been with me since 2004 that are still with, I have one that's still with me today. And it's just been a fabulous journey of telling stories. And
Yeah.
that's how this began, was simply telling stories. And we have so many stories to tell that there's just an endless supply of messages that need to be told. And the stage is just a platform to tell stories in a wonderful way to get messages out to the communities.
But when you said tell stories, is it people that you met and then you know their situation or their story, and so you turn it into a part of your? Is that how it works, or?
Sometime.
Okay.
Sometime it does. With different productions, they can be sprinkled with stories that folks have shared with me that I think is important to bring out to the public.
Right.
So it all depends on what motivates me, what moves me, and what I'm writing about. Every story is different, has different characters. I sat the other night and I thought about how many people have been in the production. And I came up with 63 people.
Oh my God.
And I thought about that, and it's been astounding for me that people, number one, would believe in my vision. Because at first when I started, I said, you know, I have a story, but who's going to act this out? And so I just began asking people. And it was so well received that after the first production, and I thought, well, this is it. This is good. I'm okay. And the cast said, when are we going to do this again? We need to take this on the road. And I had to put it down for a couple of years. But then that drive, that passion that I had within me just burned. And said, I have to do it. I have to do it again. I have to tell more stories.
Right. Right. So I remember talking to you one time and you were saying that you didn't realize how much it was affecting the audience until, like, I think after your first show, people came up to you and, like, you know, I've experienced that, or me too type of thing. Yeah.
There's so many topics that are covered that are taboo in society, and in communities of color that we just think of as norms, and we address silently.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
seeing them on stage, even talking about substance abuse, on how it goes on in our homes, of incest, of homelessness, of so much that occurs that we push under the rug.
Yeah.
So part of Ruby's Realm mission is to turn that rug over and to really to look at folks are not alone dealing with these issues.
Right.
That it
Right.
goes on in your house, it goes on in my house, it goes on in people's homes. And let's have a conversation about that. So you're right, after some shows, people will come or they'll email on the site and say, you know, I've experienced that. Thank you for sharing that. Because I really ask folks to have conversations with their family members about, so don't let the end of the production be the end, but how the characters are intertwined with each other. Have conversations after, and it could be a icebreaker of, did you see that character and what they were experiencing? Or I went to a Ruby's Realm production and they had some characters that were talking about incest, and it's been a touchy subject for me, but to use that as a way to begin conversations that are difficult to have.
Now, what was the name of your very first production?
Who is it?
Who is it?
Who is it? That focus was around bringing awareness and education about HIV and AIDS to the community. I did that production on World AIDS Day 2004, and from that day to this day, this is the first year that I will have a production on World AIDS Day this year.
Really?
So it's a celebration day. When I actually scheduled the event, and I was so excited that it was World AIDS Day, because each production has that education piece in it, because we cannot get enough education about HIV and AIDS and how it affects our communities, on how it continues to be on the rise, and we don't talk about those things.
You're heavily involved in the, I saw you on Facebook, and heavily involved in the AIDS, I don't know, project, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
It's been my life's career. I've worked in the HIV AIDS field for the last 25 years. So from direct street outreach to administration to case management, I serve on the Ryan White Planning Council, where I'm a co-chair today. But just really, and I came on the field accidentally. So I have to share that with you. Many years ago, I needed a part-time job. So, and this tells you how long ago, there was an ad in the paper for an outreach worker. Didn't know what an outreach worker was, but I knew I needed a job. So it was with the health department in the town I'm from, and I got the job, and they told me I had to talk to people about HIV and AIDS, and I said, well, I can talk to people, but I'm not sure what that is. So I learned as I went along, and it was actually for women and children at risk for HIV, but in actuality, it was working with sex professionals on the streets of New Britain. And during a 5-year period, I came into contact with 105 women that work the street. And they were the most courageous women to date that I've ever met. They really had me look at all the stereotypes that I didn't know I had, all the prejudices that I grew up with. I thought sex professionals or prostitutes were had on short skirts and platform shoes, and Huggy Bear was on the corner, because that's what the media had really convinced me. But here were women I went to school with, I went to church with. Here were women that I thought, in my mind's eye, were strung out on drugs if you worked on the street, but here were women who were supporting their families on the street. So they really shaped my perceptions very early on in my career. So I always shout them out and give them credit for creating to who I am today, where I am.
That is wonderful. I know of a young man that I knew since he was a child, because of the stigma. He never went and got any kind of help, and he could have lived on and on. He was a talented young man, but he died of it, but because he never got treated for it. He didn't want anybody to know.
The stigma is real with this virus, where people are not sharing because it's the fear of being ostracized. It's the fear of being put out. And people right now, we're 30 plus years into the epidemic. People are living long, healthy, productive lives. And there's care and there's treatment for everyone, but stepping forward and saying I'm positive, going to the doctor, getting into care is essential for great lives.
Now, in all of these years since the first time you heard about AIDS, do you see a difference in people? Are you starting to see a difference in people's attitudes about people who have HIV, AIDS?
Yes and no. You know, the stigma still is alive and well, and the stigma lives within people. Fear, not just the stigma, but fear keeps people stuck in various situations. Our populations are changing because there's more young MSM, and MSM is a man who has sex with men of color that are on the rise for HIV. African American women over 50 on the rise.
Really?
Yes, yes. You know, so there's different populations. So when I really talk about how it affects individuals, families, and communities, because if one person has it, we all do. So continues not only in my professional life, but I had to take this a step further in Ruby's Realm production and talk about this. So somebody in the audience that's experiencing this with their self, with their family, they can say, you know what? There's someone that I can have a conversation with about that. People can reach me. I can connect them to care wherever they are in the state of Connecticut. You know, there are times when I've had to call outside the state to connect folks, but that's what it's about. And there's a lot of veterans, which we call ourselves, that have been on this battlefield for many years, that are dedicated to providing education and awareness and just continuing into this fight until there's a cure.
Wow, wow. One of the other things I think you I've seen in some of your plays, which is again, people try to hide, or I mean they're coming out a little more, but you know, homosexuality. And so how did you come? Is that because you known people who reached out for help or advice because they didn't know what to do, because they didn't want anybody to know, or whatever? Is that why a part of that has been, I mean, a part of your plays? I've seen some of that in your plays too.
It's come out in the production because it's come out in society, where we see it in stories on TV. It's all over Facebook of a sexuality. And the struggle, again, the fear of coming out and talking about sexuality, the fear of being ostracized, the fear of being kicked out of your home. It's important to know that these are experiences that are going on. And so in my line of work, I come across people who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered. And so again, why not put that on stage? Why not let folks know? And that this is another struggle. I remember one character that really talked about the struggle they had with their mom on stage. And oftentimes, my cast that I call the chosen ones have told me that the parts that they play, that I give them, are actually not parts. They're not characters. It's their life that they're experiencing. And so when they get on stage, and the day of the play, when I'm sitting watching, the passion that comes out, it's so real because it's them. It's not acting. It's talking about a journey that they've been on, a fight, and there's freedom on the stage.
And then another, I'm trying to think of all the things I've experienced that, I saw that came out in your plays. Another one was incest.
Yes.
And so I'm sure that maybe people have come after the play and said, you know, that happened to me type thing.
I had 2 cast members in one performance. I Feel Like Screaming was the name of that performance. And
that was the first one I heard of. That's when I first heard of you, was that one, yeah.
They came to me during rehearsal and said, how did you know? And I said, how did I know what? They said that this happened to me. And it was 2 individuals at 2 different times. And I said, I didn't know that. And so that one production is so powerful because we cried more at rehearsals. We celebrated each other more. We hugged more. And they told me this stage is a healing ground. And that night of that performance, one of the chosen ones had never really told her family members her journey in her words. And there was the other character, the person who sexually abused her was in the audience, came to support her because it was a family member. And she got the opportunity, I get goosebumps thinking about this, she got the opportunity to really confront her abuser on stage. And it was the most powerful moments of the whole production. And the whole production wasn't centered around that, but it really was. The healing that occurred for those two women in their lives was phenomenal.
And you know, I see your plays as more of a, I don't know if you see it as that, but it's a ministry. It really is a ministry. You don't have to be standing in the pulpit to have a ministry, to touch lives, to change lives. And because your plays touch in so many areas where people are hurting, they may not even step foot into a church, but they're being healed by, the message, and so they won't, and they won't know, they will know that I'm not the only one.
It is truly a ministry, and it is my assignment.
Your assignment.
Because sometimes I look at, why am I writing? Why? Why do I wake up at 3 and 4 in the morning and just write and write? And when I see it on stage, I understand that I'm just simply a vessel. That's it. That the stories come through me based on where I am at what given time, and just threading them all together to be shown in a production. Sometimes I sit in awe and say, who wrote that? Where'd that come from? When it's played out, because we're the cast, the chosen ones, we're a family.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, we get together on a Sunday for rehearsal, and we have food, we laugh, we catch up with each other, and we rehearse, but we have fun. And when it's over, the next Sunday comes, and I'm sitting, and where is everyone? And it's a sadness, but I know it's coming back. And with a couple weeks, I'll get a text, when's the next script coming out? Let me write it. Let me write it first, and then people want to get involved. I have new members that come on board, some members that aren't able to continue on, and it opens the door for other folks to come on board and to really express themselves in different ways. And I seem to be at the right place at the right time to just ask someone. It could be their tone of voice, a way they walk, something that triggers my thought. Say, you know what? This is what I'm doing, and maybe you'd like to be involved. And so it works out every time.
Every time I would see you guys on Facebook and see you rehearsing and stuff like that, I said, that's just more than a production. That's what, just like you said, it's a family. To see everybody sitting around and eating at your house and all that, and it's you just love those. You could see that you just love those people.
We used to have rehearsals in the community, and then we had I had a dinner before one production, and the cast member said, we should be here all the time. And I said, okay. And right after that, we have rehearsals at the house, outside, inside. It's just a great space, and passions flow. There's some folks who've never been on stage before, and that are a little scared when they come on. We know there's some of us that have been together, so we mesh together. But if someone's coming for the first time, you just come right on in and join in with us. There's encouragement, there's support. After rehearsal, we sit and we talk about stuff and support each other for what's going on in life, because it may be there's a cast of 12, 14 people, and we end up with 2 or 3 at the end that just needs to talk. So again, that ministry that goes on.
That's ministry.
When talking about life and where am I and having this conflict and what do you think, and there's no time limit, but just beautiful bonds that are being built to support.
And I was so excited, and you must have just known, well, God, it was worth it when you were awarded your play. I want you to talk about that. Talk about the big excitement that we all had when we saw, oh my God. So can you explain about your play and how it was chosen, and just tell us about that.
I certainly can. The Atlanta Black Theater Festival is the 5th largest festival in the world.
Yes.
And I submitted Don't Bite the Hand That Feeds You,
Yeah.
my last production, and was accepted for the main stage reading, and was so excited that first I was humbled, I was knocked on my feet that somebody would pick me. That was amazing. And when I got the letter, I'm like, wait, they really picked me. And then I got a note that in the notice it said that you are one of the world's best wordsmiths. And I just was, oh
my God.
it took my breath away, and it does now. And went there. The cast originally, they were going to go with me for the reading, and they weren't able to. And this is how God always comes through in my life. We went down there and connect. My husband had some great friends there that were involved in the whole arts in Atlanta.
Yeah.
That made a couple calls, that made a few more calls, and calls kept coming into me to be a part of the reading.
Wow.
And before I knew, every role had someone to read. And even Frances Sharp, who was a part of our Journey Riders.
I saw Frances.
Oh, I was blessed to have her there, and her to just say yes. Just say yes. And she was just there to be a part of the festival. But I was so grateful to have her on board to just be on that stage and to celebrate that really fabulous accomplishment. Because sometimes, you know, when you do stuff, you don't really think about what you're doing. But to be chosen continues to take my breath away. Just when we're talking about it right now, to know went down there and really participated, to sit, and there were so many readings and productions that were phenomenal. Production companies that came from Arizona, from Canada, from all over to be a part of this. It was great.
So all of that waking up in the morning, early in the morning, writing and not knowing why, it was not in vain. 'Cause, I mean, we can't see, but God sees.
All the time. Yes.
Yeah, so he knew that this day was coming, you know, because he knew that your heart was in what you were doing. You weren't just doing it just to, you know, people get on the stage and act, but it was to help people. And so, you know, he blessed you. And I mean, I was just so excited when I saw that, because you actually, you deserve it.
Thank you. You know, it's as you said, we talk about a ministry. It's not entertainment. I don't write for entertainment. The format is entertaining, but the content is educational. The content is meant to stir the audience. I always come out ahead of time and warn folks, get ready, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. My goal is to make you feel uncomfortable enough that you want to look at some of these things that are being presented. Right. You want to have conversations with someone else in your life about what you experience, because I mean, the arts all around are an experience, right. Just overall. So we want to give you the best experience. We want you to laugh. We want you to feel all of your emotions, but we want to stir that within your spirit in a very different way. And this next production coming up is just another level of that going on.
Yeah, I want you to tell me about the next one coming.
This one is called Chain Reaction. Now, and I choose the titles, or I should say they choose me before I write, which is sometimes odd when I think about it, because I'll have a word or two on a sticky note, and I'll look at it, and that's where I'm going with it. And with Chain Reaction, it was just looking at how in life everyone's action reflects everyone else. And it's a domino effect, good, bad, or indifferent. Your actions affect someone else's action, and how that comes together in this production is really looking at families and that network of families and the extended relationship on how it comes together in a hierarchy of what is happening. And it stirs so much where when we had the reading the first time at rehearsal, the end of it, the whole room erupted because I didn't tell them what the outcome was going to be. And so I laughed when we came back for rehearsal, the room erupted again, and they said, everyone is going to be blown away on how this plays out. How did you think of this? And I said, we're going to work this. We're going to work this so well. But chain reaction is just that. It's a domino effect on people. And all of these characters, there are 14 characters in this production. And each one, there are 4 that just came on board with me. The rest have been on with the family. And when I say they're chosen, there's no reading, there's no casting call. Just I'm at the right place at the right time. And there's some folks that, don't get me wrong, not everybody says yes. Some folks say, you know, this is going on in my life right now and I'd like to, and I'm unable to right now. And that's okay, because I'm coming back around, because I'm going to ask again in a different, because I try to do 2 a year. So April and December are the times when I'll do a production. And I'm not sure why I picked those 2 dates, but again, I know December because it's World AIDS Day. And this production, again, will have education and information about HIV and AIDS. It will have members that are infected, communities that are affected. People can figure out who is not in the production, how that weaves together, but really looks at how people interact. And to be kind, that's just a powerful undertone. Be kind to one another, because you don't know, though karma may not affect you today, it may affect your children or your grandchildren. Something later on that you don't know. You either get off scot-free, but you're not. So to be kind, and folks are dealing with a lot of stuff that you meet every day. And in this production, it looks at all the characters are interacting with something something that they're dealing with, and how the other person reacts to it affects the next person in the production. So it's twisted. It is definitely twisted.
So I want you to tell the audience, I guess, in one of these, just tell them, talk about where it's going to be, what time, how they can get tickets, and all of that stuff.
Okay. Well, the next production for Ruby's Realm is called Chain Reaction. It will be held December 1st, 2018 at 6 p.m. at Bradley Memorial Theater at the Klingberg campus, 370 Linwood Street in New Britain, Connecticut. You can get tickets by calling Ingram Son at 860-770-1549 or on Eventbrite. You don't want to miss this performance. This is another Ruby's Realm production. Be in the audience, be there, come early, because we definitely start on time. It's known as Ruby Time. It is 6 o'clock, Bradley Memorial Theater, 370 Linwood Street in New Britain, Connecticut. Chain Reaction. We'll see you there.
All right. So, thank you. I thank my friend Valerie for being here tonight. And I hope you all will come out, support. I always say support whatever's happening in our neighborhoods that's positive. So I want you to come out, support her, and I thank you for watching. Valerie, I thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Sweetheart.
It's always
and
a pleasure.
I wish you the very best. I hope the audience is just packed. People can't even get in the door. So I'm so proud of you, and I thank you for coming tonight. And I thank you guys for watching, and have a good night.
Check it out Saturday, December 1st, 2018. Come on down, get in your seats for 5:30, 5:45, because we start at 6 p.m. sharp. The location, Bradley Memorial Theater in New Britain. Address, 370 Linwood Street.